So finally, I just want to talk to you about the role of PPI in the STATIC trial. So I'm Hilary Lindsay. As I said before, it was going to say Lelia Dooley here. So Lelia has been a patient representative on the trial management group for, I think, over 10 years now, since the beginning of FLAIR and then STATIC. She can't be here today, and it's such a shame because she's made an invaluable contribution to both those trials over the years. I more recently got involved on the trial management group for the STATIC trial, so you've got me here talking to you today. So what is patient and public involvement in research? It really is so important that patients or other people with experience get involved in how research is designed and conducted and how results are shared. And this area of involvement is changing and developing all the time. And now, quite simply, no new trial would be approved without there being significant patient and public involvement in the whole exercise. And we say PPI, but technically it's actually PPIE. So it's patient and public involvement and engagement. And the second bullet point here is just emphasizing the importance of prepositions. They absolutely matter. So this involvement in the research isn't about something that happens to people or about people or for people. It's very much about it being with patients and by patients. So we're actively contributing to help develop and make those trials happen. And that's where the involvement and the engagement come from in the PPIE title. So why do we have patient and public involvement? This gives me an opportunity to just very briefly advertise that next month we're actually going to run 2 whole webinars all about why we have patient and public involvement and how you can get involved in that as well if you want to. But in the meantime, I'm here to talk about STATIC. And what's been shown over the years is that PPI can improve the quality and relevance of clinical trials. Feedback over the last, 20, 30 years all shows that. And PPI does this by, first of all, making sure that the research questions that are looked at are relevant to patients. So what matters to us? And what's so good now is that clinicians and scientists are talking to patients at the very early stages of them developing ideas to find out whether what they're looking at doing would actually be welcomed by patients. So this is really a fantastic development over recent decades. Then we need to make sure that the trial's designed in a way that's acceptable to those taking part. So David was mentioning just now that if you're on a clinical trial, we would really like to see you face-to-face rather than you coming along or being looked after virtually. But nevertheless, in deciding when you'd be seen face-to-face and how many times and what paperwork you need to look at in order to take part in the trial, patients are involved in trying to work out what's acceptable in those areas so that the whole piece is something that's not too onerous on patients. And then the next point is very much about the whole idea of information being understandable. So there have been huge improvements again in recent years in the information that's shared with patients about trials. There are so many things that have to be covered to make sure the trial's being carried out in a way that represents best practice. But within that, we try really hard to make sure that the information is not over complex, and certainly that the language that it's in is very much written with patients in mind. So it's not full of acronyms and complicated long words, but it's explained in a way that helps us understand the information and then the decisions we may want to take because of it. And the next bullet point about people that are taking part having better experience is just so important, because if people feel that it's okay being on a trial, they're more likely to be on until the end. And then that's providing the data that is needed. So it really is a critical point. And then a final point where we've been involved in particular at Leeds is around better communication of results. I mean, you can't communicate results until there are any to communicate, but you can still make sure there's better communication all the way through a trial. And in fact, the website that Doina was mentioning is something that came out of the PPI involvement on the STATIC trial. So what have we actually been involved with in the STATIC trial? Well, PPI was involved, so Lilia and I were both involved in when the trial was being designed and getting it started, involved in discussions around funding, about writing documents, how I'm going to talk about taking part in the trial. As David said, this is a very different, very special trial because we're exploring the idea of people being able to pause their treatment and therefore avoid any side effects it's causing, or potentially being able to take that treatment for a longer, extended period of time. But it's a new idea, and so it's really important that people have got the right information to help them make that decision. We contribute to how the trial's actually done on an ongoing basis. So Lilia and I are both members of the trial management group. This is a group that's responsible for the day-to-day running of the trial. It meets every 6 weeks. It now meets online since the pandemic and the lockdown. And we're there. There are about 15, 20 people on the call, or more than that, reporting into it. So it's a big exercise, if you like. And it's so good, first of all, that there are 2 of us. I think having one patient representative on a trial isn't fair on the representative, really. But that there are 2 of us. And I have to say that the team at Leeds, led by Tal, are absolutely fantastic at making sure that we have every opportunity there is to put forward any thoughts we have about things from the patient perspective. So that really is so important. And then there's a smaller group, PPI group, where we meet with Doina and 1 or 2 of her colleagues and 1 or 2 more of us every 3 months, just to talk about more detail about the progress of the trial. And that's actually where the website came from. The whole idea of we want to get more information out to people, we want to share with them what's happening. And so that's one of our triumphs so far, if you like, on the PPI involvement in the STATIC trial.